Hi, I'm Liz Granberg-Jerome from Gypsy Dreamer Quilts, and I'm here to talk about the next block for the second Saturday shop sampler for Quilters Paradise in Baldwin City, Kansas. Where am I? Okay, so this month we're making the card trick. And the card tricks, we're actually going to make 5 blocks. So they are going to be here. You're going to sew them together in a set of 3 and in a pair of 2, and either next month or in the next couple of months we'll be making the flag that they'll attach to. So don't sew them together into a whole L shape. Hold on to them as a set of 3 and a set of 2 until you're instructed to put them on the next block. So these are all units you've made with one variation. You're going to be doing half square triangles, which you've done many of. You're going to be doing an hourglass unit, and because we're making an odd number of blocks, you're going to have a leftover hourglass unit, because every time you make one, it makes a pair. So we're going to use 5, and you'll have one left over in your leftover pieces and scrappy parts. And we're going to be making a variation on the hourglass unit where we're going to have 2 small triangles and 1 big triangle. Because of the way these go together, and now you're going to have you zoom up here. If we were to mark this and sew on either side and cut in the middle, you would have 2 pieces that are opposite from each other. If you notice on this block, the colored piece is in the same location all the way around. They're all oriented the same way. The small triangle of color is always on the right. So instead of having you make them the traditional way, you're going to need to read through the instructions carefully, because the first half are going to be the regular way that we've done half square triangles and quarter squares, where you mark them and you sew and you cut them apart. This set, you're actually going to be sewing triangles together. So what we do is, your instructions will tell you to cut squares. 1 square you're going to cut in half to make the large halves, which would be this piece, and the small square, or the other squares, will be cut into quarters, and they will make 4 of these, and you'll have 2 of each color. So when you're ready to make these, I recommend highly that you starch or best press. We have a mister that we refill, that we put best press in. This is our starch alternative that we use, and in our home we buy it by the gallon, and we refill our sprayer as needed. Because you're going to be sewing triangles together, you're going to be sewing bias edges all over the place. So the best press will help stabilize those edges. So when you're ready to sew these, in order to have all of the pieces the right direction, if you sew with the white on the bottom and your color on top, and start at the flat edge and sew down towards the corner on the short edge of the small triangles that are paired, and your instructions will tell you that, you can chain piece those together, and then when you open those up, press them to the dark side, and actually follow the instructions. The pressing varies on this block so that you don't have a lot of seams piled on top of each other. So make sure you pay attention to the pressing instructions on this block. These may be pressed to the light side. No, these are pressed to the dark. Your half square triangles on this block will be pressed to the light instead of the dark, your corner units, because the pressing on this block with all of those seams coming together is a little bit different. So you'll take one of these and a solid one, and actually the red triangle goes with the dark big triangle, and those will get sewn together. Now I oversized your blocks just slightly so that there's room to trim. So these may not meet exactly in the corner, but if you line up the point of the single triangle with the center of the two-piece triangle, it all should match. And then when you have that sewn, if you come back and trim it, you'll have a little bit to take off, and you'll have the right size units, and that will make a unit just like this. So that's why we're doing triangles, is so that we don't end up with, if we have 4 of these in every block and we're making 5 blocks, you'd have 20 leftover blocks that are going the wrong direction. And there's no point to have that many wrong blocks that you're not going to use. So this month you get to practice 2 different ways to make hourglass units. One sewing triangles together, and one sewing your squares on either side of the 1/4 inch and then splitting them to make your half square triangles. So when you're pressing this one, your individual blocks are pressed like normal. Follow the instructions in the or the directions for pressing in your instructions. But then when you're assembling the blocks, I've gone ahead and pressed all of those open, because when they meet, if they were pressed normally, you'd have lots of seams piling up, and we want to spread out that thickness so that it's not too heavy in any one place. So that's the card trick block. They look tricky, but they really are just units that you've been making for the last couple of months, sewn together in a little bit different layout. So I hope you have fun with these, and I'll see you next month.